Meruem would indeed be considered a failure. The king who succumbed to human ideals and was, in a way, corrupted by them, leading to the downfall of the Chimera ants, or at least those living outside the Dark Continent. Keeping this in mind, there could very well be a Meruem, a king on the Dark Continent, who is perfect and rules only within his domain. Thus, Meruem, considered a failure, could have been perfect if things had gone differently, or if the ants' original plan had succeeded and another queen birthed a new king. What would a truly perfect being be like? Stay tuned for every detail of this crazy video, and make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and turn on notifications. A perfect king, according to the Chimera ant standards, would be completely immune to human emotional and psychological influences. He would view all life forms, including humans, purely as resources to be conquered and used for the expansion of his empire. Without the ability to feel empathy or compassion, he would be an unstoppable force of destruction and domination, leading his troops with meticulously calculated strategies to achieve absolute supremacy. His actions would be based solely on logic and an instinct for supremacy, making him an even greater threat to humanity and all forms of life on the planet. There are many fascinating theories within the Hunter x Hunter universe, and one of the most interesting is the idea that Meruem, the king of the Chimera ants, was actually a failure in the Chimera ants' original plan. The theory suggests that Meruem succumbed to human thoughts, and as a result, did not represent the perfect form the Chimera ant queen sought to create. According to this theory, the next queen would aim to give birth to a complete, flawless king, free from the human influences that affected Meruem. To fully understand this theory, it's essential to revisit the Chimera ants' original plan and how they operated. Chimera ants are a highly evolved species capable of assimilating the characteristics of other organisms they consume. Their primary goal is absolute supremacy, conquering and dominating all forms of life. The Chimera ant queen is responsible for giving birth to offspring that, through consuming various beings, become increasingly powerful and diverse. The birth of the king is the pinnacle of this process, seen as the supreme ruler who will lead the Chimera ants to total domination. From the moment of his birth, Meruem demonstrated unparalleled power and superior intelligence. His evolution throughout the Chimera ant arc is one of the series' most profound aspects. Initially, he was ruthless, viewing humans only as inferior creatures meant to serve or be consumed. However, upon interacting with Komugi, a simple human girl who was a master at the Gungi game, Meruem began to experience emotions and dilemmas he had never faced before. These interactions awakened feelings of compassion, curiosity, and even love, intrinsically human elements. This emotional development, according to the theory, is seen as a flaw from the Chimera ant's perspective. By developing empathy for humans, Meruem deviated from his species' original purpose, absolute supremacy over all forms of life. A new king would embody the ultimate Chimera ant ideals, devoid of any trace of compassion or doubt, making him truly flawless. Imagine multiple kings with power equivalent to Meruem's. It would be a massive catastrophe. To better understand the impact of this theory, it's helpful to explore what a perfect king would be like according to the Chimera ant standards. A flawless king would be entirely immune to human emotional and psychological influences. He would view all life forms, including humans, purely as resources to be conquered and used for the expansion of his empire. Without the ability to feel empathy or compassion, he would be an unstoppable force of destruction and domination, leading his troops with ruthless efficiency and without hesitation. This perfect king would have a singular focus: conquest. Unlike Meruem, who began to question his purpose and even the nature of his existence, a flawless king would have no such doubts. He would act purely on logic and an instinct for supremacy, becoming an even greater threat to humanity and all life on the planet. The strategies of a perfect king would be meticulously calculated, using the full potential of Nen abilities acquired through the assimilation of different beings. Preventing the birth of a new flawless king was a crucial measure taken by the hunters. The death of the queen and the subsequent annihilation of the Chimera ants prevented this plan from coming to fruition, thereby stopping the birth of a king even more powerful and ruthless than Meruem could have been. If other ants evolved into queens and managed to give birth to this new king, or multiple kings, the world would have faced an even more overwhelming danger. Had this new king been born, the consequences for the world of Hunter x Hunter would have been catastrophic. The organization and efficiency of the Chimera ants under the command of a perfect leader would have exponentially increased. Military strategies and methods of domination would have been flawless, leading to a rapid and devastating expansion of the ants' territory. Human cities and nations would have been swiftly conquered or destroyed, with human resistance crushed mercilessly. Territories would fall one by one, each under the rule of a different king. Moreover, the Chimera ants, under the leadership of a perfect king, would have continued evolving in unimaginable ways. The assimilation capability of the Chimera ants is already a formidable threat, but with a leader who fully understands and explores this ability, they would have become practically indestructible. The absorption of nun abilities from powerful humans and other creatures would have created an army of formidable soldiers, each possessing a unique and deadly combination of powers. The psychological and emotional impact on humanity would also have been profound. The presence of a perfect leader for the Chimera ants would have instilled an overwhelming fear among humans, who would have realized the true extent of the threat they faced. The hope for resistance would have been minimal, and many human communities could have succumbed to despair, resulting in social and political collapse. The hunters, recognizing the existential threat posed by the Chimera ants, intensified their efforts to eliminate the colony. The battle against Meruem and his court was only part of the larger war against the Chimera ants. The eradication of the queen and the destruction of the eggs before a new king could be born were critical steps to ensure humanity's survival. Furthermore, the theory suggests that other queens might have emerged if the colony had had time to recover. The Chimera ants are adaptable and resilient, and it is plausible that over time, new queens would have arisen, each potentially capable of giving birth to a new king. The elimination of the Chimera ants and their reproductive capabilities was, therefore, a preventive measure to stop a new era of terror. The original plan of the Chimera ants was clear: to dominate and assimilate all forms of life, to create an invincible empire. Meruem, although powerful, was humanized through his experiences, which paradoxically made him less perfect in the eyes of his own species. The next step in the Chimera ants' plan would have been to create a leader immune to these influences, someone who could carry out their mission of total domination without deviating from their purpose. Meruem, by developing empathy and questioning the nature of his existence, strayed from this plan. His interactions with Kamugi and the moral dilemmas he faced revealed a flaw in the eyes of the queen. If she were still alive and saw her son as the royal guard did, weakened by his own feelings and original intentions. This flaw, however, also brought forth a human aspect that became one of the most fascinating and moving parts of his character. Nevertheless, the possibility that other queens might emerge in the future is a constant reminder that peace and security are never guaranteed, especially on the Dark Continent, where there may be not just one, but several Chimera kings in different locations. This theory and its implications not only enrich the narrative of Hunter x Hunter, but also highlight the central themes of the series: the struggle for survival, continuous evolution, and the complexities of human nature. Meruem, though a failure in the eyes of the Chimera ants, represents the duality between strength and vulnerability, power and compassion. The presence of a new perfect king, without Meruem's flaws, would have drastically changed the course of history. Humanity would have faced an even greater threat, and the fight for survival would have become even more desperate. The intervention of the hunters, therefore, was not just a physical victory, but also a moral and existential triumph. In my opinion, this theory adds depth to the narrative of Hunter x Hunter. It explores themes such as the duality between nature and creation, and how external influences can shape or divert a being from its original purpose. Meruem, although powerful, was humanized through his experiences, which paradoxically made him less perfect in the eyes of his own species. Preventing the birth of a new flawless king was an essential measure to ensure the survival and security of humanity. The theory that Meruem was a failure, and that the next queen would give birth to a perfect king prevented by the hunters, offers an intriguing perspective on the series' events. It deepens the understanding of the characters and the critical decisions that shaped the course of the story, emphasizing the sacrifices made to preserve the world's balance and the complexity of interactions between different forms of life. It is important to note that this theory is not officially confirmed in the series, but is part of fan interpretations seeking to understand the deeper layers of Yoshihiro Togashi's work. Hunter x Hunter is known for its narrative complexity and for leaving room for viewers and readers to reflect on the events and motivations of the characters.